I want to thank Dr. Lucchesi and his team for giving me an opportunity to make some input to the COP30 planning process. Thank you. I will be delighted to work with you. I would like to suggest that the COP30 highlight follow-up on the suggestions and highlights of the previous COPs. For example, COP21 in France, Paris, it had Paris Accord and 4 per thousand. COP22 in Morocco had adapting African agriculture to climate change focus. COP28 in UAE for the first time ever mentioned the term soil health. And COP29 at Baku focused on agriculture as a solution to climate change. So the question is, what should COP30 in Brazil do? We really have a great opportunity and we should make use of it. For example, showcase agriculture success story of Brazil. That's one part. Provide guidance and be a role model for the developing world in improving its agriculture. Brazil becoming a visionary leader for future action and making agriculture as a part of the solution to environment. These are some of the things that COP30 could look at, but especially make agriculture beyond food and fuel. What can we do in agriculture beyond food and fuel? In terms of the success story of Brazil, it's very important to highlight that over the last 50 years, since circa 1975, Brazil has transformed from a food importer to one of the biggest producers and exporter of the food at global level. That must be highlighted. Agriculture now accounts for 20% of GDP of Brazil, and in 2017 of the 5 million rural property of the country, about 1 million, 20%, were managed exclusively by women for production of crops, forestry products, horticulture, flower farming, aquaculture, etc. So how can women farmers of the world take that as an example? Because 30% of the labor market and activities associated with agribusiness is also occupied by women. Rate of agriculture growth in Brazil has been about 3% per year, milk about 2%, beef production also more than 2%. So that could be a role model for developing world. In terms of the export and production, Brazil's orange juice production is 62% of the world and exports 70%. Beef market 15 and 16%. Coffee 36 and 20%. Poultry 15 and 36%. Soybean 32 and 43%. Corn 9 and 22%. Sugar 21 and 45%. Swine meat 3 and 10%. So these are examples that we could highlight. Then Brazil is a leader in bioenergy. So energy security could be another topic that Brazil could highlight. Its availability, one of the 4 pillars, its affordability, its accessibility, and its acceptability. Biofuel have those 4 pillars, and Brazil has experience in that, in each one of them, in terms of the renewable energy and energy security. Renewable energy influences energy security through negative impacts of climate change, the security of oil supplies, and the implementation of policies and incentives to promote renewable energy. It is thus important for Brazil to develop a comprehensive national plan to increase renewable energy use and enhance energy security as a role model for other countries to follow. That could be a very important topic to think about. Brazil's ethanol production is the world's 2nd largest after United States. In 2022, Brazil produced 32 billion liters of ethanol, and in 23, 33 billion liters of ethanol. Brazil's corn ethanol industry is also expanding, but nothing similar to what is in the United States. It can make a lot of progress, And there are no longer any light vehicles in Brazil running on pure gasoline. So these are some of the examples that we could highlight for COP30 as one of the successes of Brazil. The carbon intensity of Brazil's ethanol, however, can be improved. The average carbon intensity per megajoule of sugarcane ethanol produced in Brazil for use in the US was 35.2 grams of CO2 equivalent, which is 62% reduction from the US petroleum gasoline blend stock without considering the impact of land use change. So that is something to highlight in terms of biofuel. Agriculture intensification is something which is very important topic. That is where the regenerative agriculture could come in. For example, the negative impacts of agriculture intensification. Land use change of conversion of native ecosystem to agricultural land use leads to loss of several ecosystem services. It causes air and water pollution. It leads to emission of greenhouse gases and climate change. It aggravates soil degradation by erosion, fertility decline, and compaction and other processes. It leads to loss of biodiversity. It causes emergence of diseases with livestock, zoonotic, such as COVID-19. Jevons paradox is one of the issues. So environmental and soil degradation by agriculture intensification is something that we should discuss at COP30. Agriculture intensification implies increase in agriculture yield per unit of land area, but it has a price. And the price of this as a strategy to increase productivity to meet the growing global demand of food, sparing land for nature can be a success story. But we must also highlight the negative impact, the environmental cost of agriculture intensification. That could be a topic of discussion, leading to regenerative agriculture and its importance. How do you mitigate the negative effects of agriculture intensification? Through policies aimed at the specific environmental goals, through innovative research, through education, and of course, we must always consider the benefits of land saving. It's estimated that agriculture intensification has helped avoiding land use change emissions corresponding to about 160 gigaton of carbon since 1961 by avoiding the cropland expansion at 14 million hectares, more than doubling of the global cropland area. That would have been required if yield levels had stayed at the same level as in 1961. But the environmental costs are there more. Therefore, the focus of agriculture globally, as coming from the example of Brazil, is producing more from less. By reducing waste, by increasing use efficiency of inputs, especially fertilizer, pesticide, irrigation, tillage, energy, and of course reducing waste, and thinking about urban agriculture, sky farming, soil-less agriculture. We must also focus agriculture which is nutrition sensitive, nutrient-rich agriculture. Now, therefore, what should COP30 be known for? I think that's a part of the discussion. What should be the thematic focus? Is it agriculture of the future? What should it look like? What should a farmer of the future look like? Who is a farmer of the future? What is the role of soil-less agriculture? How can we spare land for nature? And more importantly, how can we make agriculture regenerative? And in all this, what is the role of agribusiness? I think this is a great opportunity for all of us to make sure that Brazil gives a message that transformation of agriculture as it has done can be done in the rest of the world for the good of the world and increasing the peace and stability throughout the world. Thank you.